Welcome to 2020. This is Pop Kannon. My name is Jordan.
I'm Robert.
I'm Andrew.
And I am a new Brian for a new year.
Oh, well, that's a new year, new you, Brian.
So, guys, what are we talking about today in episode 31?
HBO's Watchmen.
The American superhero drama.
Yeah, that's right. Watchmen, created by Damon Lindelof for TV here on HBO. And what a friggin' show, guys.
Dudes.
This show is amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot to break down and digest here. Right off the top, first thoughts, first impressions.
I'll just say I think it's one of the ballsiest shows I've seen in a long time. It had genuine surprises that I didn't see coming up until like right before they hit. But even so, when they hit, they were great fucking twists. I think for HBO, who was really hoping to have something to fill the Game of Thrones void, Game of Thrones being arguably one of the best shows in history of television, we've got another show that is now, with one season down, going to be vying for one of the best shows in television history.
Yeah. And I sincerely hope it just sticks to one season. I think it was perfectly self-contained, and I don't really think it needs more, personally. I don't really know where they could go with it.
They could go in a lot of directions with it.
No, I mean, I kind of echo Andrew's sentiment in that I think this season was so well done that to continue it would be a disservice to just the idea of what they accomplished with this. You said self-contained. I don't know that there were many loose ends that they didn't tie up or eradicate entirely. But I thought it was one of the most perfectly executed seasons of television I've ever seen.
The way
I've just got to echo that sentiment myself, because just from a sheer technical standpoint, it's just astounding. The way that they set this season up, they wound things so tightly, just to friggin' let loose, and boy oh boy did they not hold back. And Brian, like you said, the balls to pull off a show like this and get away with certain things.
Right.
They took their big blue penis and put it on the table.
And all we did was go, wow.
I want to say just a couple things real quick. So, Andrew and Rob, off of what you were saying, I agree that if they just stick with it as a single season, because it is a 9-episode miniseries that they had just put it out as, so they could just not do another season and it would be fine. I think they're going to, because I think it did better with critics than they thought it would. Because it's such a genre show. It's a comic book show, basically.
Yeah.
Without having specific source material to adapt, it's a sequel. But still, I think they're going to try and do a second season. And I think that if Lindelof is running it again like he ran this first season, I think it's going to be just as good. I have a lot of faith in Lindelof with this show, at least.
For me, it just answered all the questions that needed to be answered.
Well.
And to do another season would just be basing it off of what they did in this run, and that's, for me, I don't need it,
And for you, that's great if it answered all the questions. For me, there are a lot of questions that are still left unanswered. There are characters that we did not see at all. So the biggest character that we didn't see was Dan Dreiberg, a.k.a. Night Owl 2, who was one of the main characters of Watchmen, the graphic novel. We saw his actual airship in Karnak that then, Laurie Blake, once she took Ozymandias into custody with Wade Tillman, that they would then take that back, presumably back to, I don't know, at the FBI headquarters or something, but or maybe New York. Yeah, Archie, exactly. So we saw his airship. We saw that the Tulsa police had actually taken that that design and used it. That was in the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
But he was conspicuously absent. He was referenced. He's evidently in prison. And just a quick thing for anyone who is still watching it or making way through it or wants to watch it, HBO, they put a lot of supplemental material out in what's called the PDpedia online. It's one of the characters, Petey, Agent Petey of the FBI. He was, in universe putting stuff online. So there's a lot of stuff in there. And evidently what happened with Dan's character is that he and Lori, after they had already given up being given up being heroes, they stopped in the Watchmen universe. They stopped Timothy McVeigh from blowing up the the federal building in Oklahoma. And even though they did that, they still broke the law by being costume adventurers by doing that, or vigilantes. And so Lori took a plea deal, went into the FBI. Dan refused to take the plea deal. He's in prison. So yeah,
I love the alternate history.
Yeah,
stuff.
Dude, that's one of my favorite things about this show is just they set up so much stuff in the world in just 9 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they set up stuff that you could explore, such as that, like Brian was just saying. But like just the fact that they're so technologically advanced in certain areas, but then they don't have cell phones.
Yeah, they pager stuff.
And that like the cops need access to like unlock their guns and everything.
Right.
It's just, I want to explore that, and that's why I think I want a second season out of this, because I just want to explore the world. I don't necessarily think it needs to be so laser focused on someone like Angela, but just take like let's live in that world again.
It was also cool seeing, because that was still an extension of the comic, where when Dr. Manhattan first came around, there was this incredible boom in technology. So it would make sense that even though it's set in present day, technology would be years or decades ahead of where it would be now. So I like that kind of little tie-in, that it still had the flavor of the comic in there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and to anyone who hasn't read the graphic novel, highly recommend it. The show, that's what I was going to say. Sorry, yeah. So when this show was announced, no one really knew what it was going to be. They weren't coming out and saying if it was going to be a sequel to the movie, a sequel to the comics, its own thing. As it got closer, Lindelof was saying like, "Oh, it's its own thing." But then, after I think it's the 3rd episode, Lori referred to the fact that Ozymandias dropped a squid in New York, and then we knew it was an outright sequel. Then it's going to reference the comic a lot, which I do see it as a sequel, to the comic. But I highly recommend reading it. It's a seminal work, and Jordan, what you were saying about the alternate history, that the comic has all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's so much alternate history in that. It's so great.
And not to disappoint anyone, Alan Moore announced that he didn't like the show. So
did he call it rubbish?
Probably.
Yeah, because he calls everything rubbish.
Everything that he didn't do is rubbish. So and that's why I think in the credits it only mentioned the artist.
Yeah,
Dave Gibbons,
based on the comic illustrated by Dave Gibbons. Same thing for the
which
movie.
is a hilarious way to be like, fuck you, Alan Moore.
The really fucked up thing is I can get him kind of calling V for Vendetta rubbish. I liked the movie, but I know it departs from the comic a lot. Really, the movie adaptation by Zack Snyder of Watchmen only departs in one major way, which is not the squid being used to destroy New York, but using little Dr. Manhattan, or using big Dr. Manhattan bombs to hit different cities on Earth. But it's essentially like one of the most slavish adaptations. Like Zack Snyder went out of his way to make pains of that comic come to life on screen. I love that adaptation, and he still called it rubbish. So you know what, Alan Moore, thank you for giving us Watchmen, but also fuck you.
No, I mean, I can't necessarily argue with that. But I also was going to say, because the movie is so close to the book, if you didn't necessarily want to sit down and read the graphic novel, you could just lead in with the movie and have a general idea of what everything is.
You could. Yeah. They changed a few things. They did
change
a few things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And it's not like... And that would just be... you'd have to precursor the film or precursor the show after the film with, okay, so that's based on the same source material that this is based on.
Right.
But they're not necessarily linked together.
So in watching the film prior to the show, I think like it really connected a lot of the dots for the most part for the people who haven't read the novel.
Okay.
You know, like take everything with a grain of salt, just kind of that, you know, like, okay, let me watch this show and now look for the differences from the movie.
Right.
Like, what's different here? Oh, okay, well, the characters look very similar.
Yeah.
You know, like, because that's just the source material it was based on. I don't think it was that much of a jump. Like you said, it was pretty much just the squid thing.
Yeah. I thought that a really cool touch during the show. So the graphic novel has the tales of the Black Freighter happening, like showing up during the course of the graphic novel, and you see in the show Watchmen that we see American hero story being aired, and I thought that how that was really interesting, that kind of paralleled that a little bit for me.
Yeah.
But also that the actual the cinematography of the American hero story was very much like the Zack Snyder way of direction. Like there was a lot of the I thought that was really cool. A lot of this the slow down and then back to normal speed, just the tones he uses and the way he focuses, like they really aped the Zack Snyder way for just those segments, which I thought was a really cool touch
For the show within the show.
The colors were so saturated.
Yes, saturated. Thank you,
dude. His fucking mask was like purple.
It was the most purple thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was really cool that they basically adopted the Zack Snyder style for the in-universe TV show.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's like American Horror Story.
Exactly,
But it's based on the heroes of yesteryear.
And it was ultra violent, that show.
Fuck yeah.
And super graphic in other ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
But as soon as they started setting that up, I was like, holy shit, that's her grandfather. I kind of figured it out prior to, but it wasn't one of those things where I was like, this is super predictable.
Yeah.
It was like, I have a hunch. Oh, okay, I was right because they laid the breadcrumbs correctly.
Yeah.
Right.
And I figured it out.
Yeah, I'll say more than any other project that Damon Lindelof has been done, and that does include Lost, as much as I love Lost, this season of television, like, the mystery they laid out was just really intriguing, and I wouldn't say necessarily easy to follow, but it wasn't so convoluted that you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Like...
Oh, I had no idea what was happening for the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it was like through episode 4, it was just like a blissful, this is fun.
Yeah.
But I'm not entirely sure what's happening. But it wasn't in a
that's
negative
definitely
way.
What I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't in a negative way. You're just like, how is this all going to fall together?
And God damn it, they did it.
Oh my God.
Dude, everything fit together so well. The way that they just integrated everything and then wound all of the separate story threads together it's just masterful storytelling.
If I were like a teacher in literature or fiction or anything like that, this would be something I would have my students watch.
Yeah.
This is a way to tell a masterful story.
I mean, obviously the first episode is just so fucking good, and right out of the gate, the hook for the show with what happened in Tulsa was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And just powerful visually, because they didn't cut away from certain things. You know, they let you live there.
It was there was a lot in the show that was difficult to watch.
Yes.
And
yes.
they just drop you right in the fucking middle of it.
But
Literally.
By the end of the first episode, it was the camera work and the decisions with the shots were just so artsy, and following up the tree and then down the noose to reveal him, and then following him all the way down his body to look at the sheriff badge in the grass, and then really slow creep in tight on the sheriff badge, and then the drip of blood.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you enjoyed the graphic novel or the film and watched that episode and went, I don't know.
What the fuck
You're
is wrong
fucking
with
wrong.
you? Yeah.
How could you?
Yeah.
Like the hook for the episode is so strong. And then you get introduced to everybody, and it's all very interesting, but it's not necessarily laid out in a way that you necessarily understand. And then you get to that end before the credits. I don't know how you don't, like, they did the thing, the fucking blood splatter on the thing.
Yeah.
The little callbacks and bits of fan service were done so well.
Yeah, because they fit within the, like, it just made sense.
Yeah.
I'll go one better, Andrew. I don't even see it as fan service. I mean, technically you could. You could say, like, when Laurie is telling her joke in the Dr. Manhattan booth, and she ends it with, drum roll, curtains, like that's what Rorschach says about the Pagliacci joke. I don't see it as fan service, though. I just see it as just, it's possible that maybe Rorschach even told her that, and so she just, said that herself, as another way to pass along a joke to another hero. I didn't see really anything that was fan service. I just saw it all as just being within the universe.
Yeah.
The music was fucking, like, every decision musically was just amazing. Oh, yeah. They got Trent Reznor, and I can't remember who the other guy is to
Atticus.
do the.
Okay. Atticus Ross.
Okay, and the score was fucking, like, spot on. It's weird,
dude. It was so dark and ominous.
Absolutely, it felt like I was watching I felt like I was watching a David Fincher movie, which is good.
And
then all the licensed music too.
Oh yeah.
All the random songs that were used, and then just especially the old songs, like from the 30s and 40s during episode 6. Which was
we're going to talk about episode 6.
We are definitely. But the flashback episode, just all those were just used wonderfully. I loved it.
Was I the only one that, as soon as they started playing the ink spots, did you think of Fallout? Do you remember they used that song in the commercial? Anyone?
I don't remember.
I remember that.
But yeah, the music.
The I don't want to set the world on fire.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Because I know I had heard that somewhere before, and I couldn't remember where. So it's from that Fallout commercial.
Yeah.
But all right, right on.
I've definitely, like, almost each episode I've had to Shazam a song and then go and download it because it was like, oh fuck, what is this?
In episode 5, which was the Looking Glass episode, which was they kept using different versions of Careless Whisper, which I thought was fucking great.
Yeah,
that was so great.
There was a point, I think it was the very end of that episode, where it was like a slow version where it was just more of a vocal.
Yeah.
And I was hearing the lyrics, and I was like, is this also Careless Whisper? There was a moment where I was like, what is this song? And then I listened again, and I was like, Never Gonna Dance. Wait a minute. They're still playing that?
It's a great subtle way to keep informing the audience of the psychological and psychic damage that not only Wade endured, but anyone else who survived the quote unquote attack.
11-2, I think they were
11-2. Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's just a really subtle way that's always there, just in different forms, but it's still just there. Yeah.
Just imagine being a filmmaker and making episode 5 and then following it with episode 6. I don't know that there's ever been 2 episodes back to back of something that just fucking hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
Because for me, episode 5 was my favorite episode until episode 6 happened.
Yeah. Right.
I was like, fuck, that was incredible. Yeah. Credits, skip intro, here we are. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
And I love episode 6, This Extraordinary Being.
Yeah.
great titles for all the episodes too, and I really like the way that they incorporated the titles into the background.
Yeah, oh my god,
very
that was
cool.
so fucking cool.
So that's a callback to Fringe, I think.
Oh,
yeah, a little bit,
because Fringe would do that.
That was really that was a nice little touch of polish to the whole thing. I like that a lot.
There's just so much, but like, let's just. I guess let's go favorite characters and then we'll get into episodes.
Oh boy.
Fuck.
I mean, I'll lead off favorite characters. Angela was fucking awesome.
Hell yeah.
In absolutely every way. She was awesome. But I don't think she was my favorite character. I think my favorite character was Looking Glass.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I had so much fun trying to figure out who that guy was and what happened to him. And then we finally get that episode where you just figure out everything that happened to him. Amazing.
Severe PTSD.
Such amazing character work. And then you felt like you knew that guy for the rest of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I love that they did that in a way that didn't slow down momentum, didn't kill what they were setting up for the show in terms of like plot and story, because you got what you needed to know for that guy and then how his brain was working. Because up to that point, you don't know exactly why he does what he does. He's just kind of fucking weird.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you get why his brain works the way it does, and you're like, oh, shit.
Like Angela says, he's a cold motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then specifically when those 5 7th Cavalry guys are going to come kill him, and you're like, holy shit, because he's not necessarily in a headspace to do it. You know what I mean? Like, he's kind of, when he arrives home, he's kind of like freaking out. And he's in sort of like almost like a panic attack, I guess you could say.
I thought he was dead at that point, honestly.
I thought they were going to kill him too.
Because they make you feel like he's not right at that moment. Like, if he were sitting on his couch and that happened, he'd be ready.
Right.
But he had so much happen leading up to that he was frazzled. So you don't think he's going to survive
His
it.
entire life came like unraveled when he was captured by white supremacists. And
dude, after the next day after that, when he basically turns Angela in, he starts his conversation with her, just like, "Is anything true?" And I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
oh, that's rough."
His entire worldview got turned upside down.
Anything, not just is anything true? God damn, that's rough. That's heavy shit, man. I think Looking Glass was going to be my favorite character, but then we got in the last episode a lot about Lady True. And she's... So I want to say first, like, I'm handicapping all of the original characters out because they're all great. Dr. Manhattan, Ozymandias, Laurie, they're all great characters. But out of the new characters, Lady True is my favorite. She's fascinating.
And fucking terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely, because she's got Ozymandias's, smarts, maybe even a little bit smarter than him, and even more ruthless, it looks like. And I can't remember the actress's name, but she was so great in that role.
Hong Chow?
So great in that role. Okay.
If I'm pronouncing that correctly.
She was really good.
Yeah.
She was, yeah.
And that,
when she first burst in through the room of that couple.
Yes.
And she was like, "I want to buy your house.
And the land.
And the land.
And you're going to give it to me.
Also, here's your baby.
You've got 3 minutes. Yeah, you've got 3 minutes to decide."
I was like, what the fuck is happening right
I'm going to
now?
kill this baby. Just kidding. I'm not going to do that, but you should sign this paper.
But I will give it to another family, and you'll never see him again, which is even, like, more torturous than just saying I'm going to kill the baby.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. Yeah, no, I thought she was an amazing character, and I did not see the turn with her coming, but I appreciated that she had a villainous turn.
Yeah.
I think my favorite character was Will Reeves.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just that whole story, his whole flashback episode, but the fact that Rob said they used that within the narrative to explain the flashbacks and made it all make sense. Like, I love that they came up with like the nostalgia. Like, what a concept.
Yeah.
And then the way that it tied into Angela learning all about her grandfather and his experiences and getting to feel what he felt in those situations. That whole episode blew my fucking mind.
Yeah.
I told you, dude.
It might have been like my favorite hour of television that I've watched in a very long time.
Yeah, I don't think that anyone here disagrees. I mean, that was the first thing as soon as the credits rolled in an episode, I was like, I don't even know what to think anymore.
Yeah.
So, pulling back the curtain just a little bit here, I watched the show live as it aired. I wanted to tell you guys how amazing it was without giving almost any spoilers. So basically, just the accolades that I was dropping after every episode was like, this fucking show. Fucking show. Just, my God, this fucking show. God damn it. Like, so that's, now you know. And especially after episode 6, I was just like, oh my God, this show is on another fucking level.
Yeah.
But Andrew, who's your favorite character?
That's also a tough question because I loved Hooded Justice. I really like Sister Knight, Angela, because I mean, she had a fucking rough go of things, man.
Dude.
Fuck.
Her fucking story is unbelievable.
But
Jesus Christ.
Just kept coming back, and she just seemed fucking over it, but was still just like, all right, let me just keep fucking saving the day, and I'm gonna keep finding out all this shit. Oh, okay, cool. You're my grandfather? Great. Hooded Justice? Cool. Let's do it. I don't know. I just like her.
Oh, great! My chief, who I thought I had this pact with, was a world-class racist. Okay, awesome.
Fuck's sake.
It was his pappies.
Yeah.
Oh no! He was still a world-class racist. He was 7 Cavalry.
My father. It's my legacy.
I have a right to celebrate it.
Well, then why would you keep it hidden in a closet? All right,
Doesn't not to diverge too hard, but doesn't that sound like people who fly the Confederate flag? Anyway.
And we finally found out how Hooded Justice, 100-and-some-year-old man, managed to hang a man single-handedly by making him fucking do it himself.
Yeah.
Through white supremacist
Which is such
mind control.
Way more brutal than I anticipated it being.
That's how much of a baller I am. I got a guy to hang himself.
But just the way he went about it.
I love the idea that he took those books from Cyclops and studied them.
And is like, and
I'll
use this
how to do
against them someday.
And I like that.
That's one of the coolest things about it to me, is that he didn't just take their stuff to make them not have stuff. He took their stuff and learned their ways.
Yeah. And it was just at the end of episode 6 when he goes to the Minutemen and he's like, yeah, hey, I'm Hooded Justice. There's all this horrible shit going on. And then Captain Metropolis is like, well, there's also this. He's a villain. Moloch.
Yeah. And he's going to harness solar energy to harm people. But here, let's go to a bank.
Yeah. And it was a fucking racist-ass picture. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It was Dollar Bill holding... Yeah, what the... Hooded Justice is like, fuck. What?
Yeah. The world.
Yeah.
But also one of the coolest things about Hooded Justice, the character in episode 6, is the fact that he paints his eyes with a light foundation to look like a white person underneath the mask, which to me is like there's obviously the racial level to it, which makes sense for the story, but it also it's gotta be in some way a backhanded, every superhero that wears a mask paints his eyes black.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he does the opposite.
It's a reversal of that, yeah.
Right, which is just for me, that's just, I love the first part of it, because obviously the reversal of the racism and stuff, all of that is apparent in the show, and there's no escaping that, and it's a really good storytelling device. But on the superhero level,
yeah,
that's such a cool thing that they were like, oh yeah, all those superheroes paint their eyes black and put on a black mask. This guy puts on a black mask, but he doesn't want to see. It's fucking great. I love that.
He actually wanted to help people.
Well, and then Angela herself, she is
paints
black.
The same spot on her face.
Yeah. Right, but she is black, and then she paints her eyes even blacker.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So maybe while she's kicking someone's ass, they'll be like, I couldn't tell.
Right. Because you wouldn't be able to with that color.
Yeah.
Like
it was like jet black with her face. And also, her costume was awesome.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Based on,
Dude, Regina King can kick some ass.
Hell yeah.
Good Lord. She was so
super believable throughout the entire series, except for one particular episode, in my opinion. But we'll get to it.
Okay.
When we talk our negatives. But let's keep praising this show because it's so good. What did we all think when Dr. Manhattan actually showed up?
I wanted to see his fucking face.
Yeah, I was very worried that they wouldn't do like the glowing white eyes and everything, but I'm really glad that we got that.
Yeah.
The whole sequence of him and Angela having a drink was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
And like
the way that they set that up, yeah.
And the way him trying to explain how he perceives time, and we're jumping back and forth. It was fucking awesome. I loved
a god walks into a bar.
Yeah.
Yes, because her oh my god.
So that was, for me, knowing that they were going to have Dr. Manhattan in the show after, I guess, after episode 7, I was very anxious about that because I absolutely love Billy Crudup as Dr. Manhattan in Watchmen, the film.
Yeah.
I thought he nailed it. I thought Snyder directed him perfectly. He was just going from comic to the film. That was just a perfect spot on characterization and portrayal. I thought it was great, and so I was like, I know that they're not going to get Billy Crudup for that, but I don't know what they're going to do. And I was really pleased with what they did, and I really liked the actor's portrayal because I cannot. It's Mr. Mateen,
that's exactly
who played Cal. He also played Dr. Manhattan. I thought he did a great job as that.
His delivery of the lines, like when he's Cal, obviously, because he's just portraying a man. But when he is sitting there and he is Dr. Manhattan, but we don't see his face, his even tone in saying everything, and just like at one point he laughed and she's like, are you it was so good. It was so good. That scene with them talking was just dialogue, but they did such a fucking good job with the shots that they back and forth across,
Yeah, they kept it interesting while not showing his face.
Yeah.
Which is very tough to do. But I wish they did something to his voice. Because in the movie we had Dr. Manhattan sounding like echoey and like reverby a little bit, and I wish that they kept with that for this.
Well, he was immortal.
No, I know, but before that, so like when he showed up talking to her, and then like in the later episodes, like where he's just Dr. Manhattan, like I wish they just added more to his voice. I'm not saying it was bad.
Right.
I'm saying I wish, because when I think Dr. Manhattan, I hear that voice.
Well, let's since you're bringing up a critique, let's get the negative stuff out of the way, because honestly, I have very little to critique about this season. So Jordan, what you said you had a thing that you wanted to cover.
Okay, so and this is just a personal thing. I didn't care for Angela in the bar. I didn't care for her dialogue, and their quid pro quo that they didn't do it for me.
Okay.
I think it was shot very well, but I did not buy them as like a couple for that. Like I didn't picture them flirting. I couldn't get past it. Much later, when she was like pleading with him, like you should have told me that they were going to be here, like if you knew, blah blah blah. That's when I bought their relationship.
Okay.
So like seeing them interact as Cal and Angela, like I believed all of that. Seeing Angela interact with Dr. Manhattan towards the end, I totally believed that there was a relationship there. They had feelings for one another, all that. The scene in the bar didn't do it for me.
Okay.
Personally. But that literally is my only critique of the show.
Okay. Andrew, Rob, do you have anything to critique?
I don't. If maybe nitpicky things, but not really. Nothing that really springs to mind right off the bat.
I don't have any. Yeah. There was nothing that happened that I was like, well, they shouldn't have done that. Like everything for me, I just took the whole thing in.
So mine is just a little pet peeve, and I don't think it detracts from anything at all. It's just something I wish that film and television directors, producers, that I just wish they wouldn't do it. And it was in the episode 5, the Looking Glass episode, and then also it was in the final episode, where they'll show you little quick snippets from either earlier in the episode because it means something now, or it's something that they want you to think about. So it was like Wade, he was thinking about his time from when the squid attack happened in the 80s and so forth, and they showed little bits of that. Like I hate when they do that because they don't need to do that, because the audience is smarter than they realize. And to me, it always feels like I'm being hit over the head with a bat. Like, hey, dummy, remember this? Think about that now. Think about that now, when we don't need to. It's already there. We just saw it, 45 minutes earlier, So, and they did that stuff. They did some of that in the final episode as well. It's a pet peeve, but
Oh, were they like? So you're saying like when they play a replay, like a quick replay of things while they're talking about them?
Exactly.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, like it was later in the episode when I guess he I think he was watching the recording of Adrian's recording for President Redford. And as they're playing that, like things are said, and then it shows him back in being a kid,
right,
in 85 on 11/2 when the squid hit, and it's just like we didn't need that, like I
think the way that I view that, I think that's more along the lines of that character is thinking of that specific shot that they're showing you.
And I
that's just
get
the way
that,
the human brain works.
But again, we don't need to see that. It can be inferred that they're going to be thinking about that while they're being told about that. So to me, it just comes off as being hit over the head with something. And again, it's not. I think the season was fucking great, and I don't think that detracts from it all. It's just a pet peeve of mine with visual fiction in general. So yeah.
Well, what was everyone's favorite episode then? We did favorite characters.
Episode 6.
Well, it's episode 6.
Yeah, episode 6.
Boy, I really don't know. I think I have to go with the finale, the season finale. That us getting the entirety of the Ozymandias, like of like how he got to Europa and then got off of Europa. Seeing Lady True's payoff, like everything being paid off, I think that was the best. But again, I was thinking about this earlier today because I actually watched through the whole season again over the course of this week. There's not a bad episode. All 9 episodes are fucking amazing. There's no dip. They all build on.
There's not.
They all build on top of each other. They just keep stacking. And yeah, so like episode 5 up until that point, that was my favorite episode. Then episode 6 was my favorite episode up until that point. And then episode 7, obviously episode 6 being done as almost a complete, being done in the style of, was it Birdman? Or not Bird?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like as a one shot, kind of, we've never really seen stuff like that in a television show, but episode 7 not being done like that, automatically you feel like, oh, well, that's not as good an episode. But it really, like, it was good. And so was episode 8 and episode 9, I think, just being the culmination. And honestly, seeing Joe Keane being turned into a puddle of blood was really, really nice for me. I hate racists. So,
oh, just the whole, when she was like, oh, he's in here? Well, let's let him out. And we were watching it. Right before she opened it, Michelle was like, oh yeah, he's goo. And they opened the door and he just...
I actually expected him to explode when she opened the door, but it had already happened.
It pops you like a balloon every time.
Yeah, so that's my favorite episode. But again, I there's not a bad one. There's not.
See How They Fly?
Yeah.
And like at the end, they had that cover of I Am the Walrus playing over the credits. Spooky Tooth, I believe, did it. But then the whole end when it's raining down the squids,
the frozen squids.
Yeah.
Holy fuck!
And she just like
that was nasty.
Looks at her hand and there's this huge hole in it.
I was like, what the fuck?
Even
I don't think I've watched a show since maybe Westworld where I've looked at the TV and just shouted, what the fuck, as much.
That's awesome.
They need to be 22 degrees exactly.
I love what they did with Ozymandias, how when he was on Europa and there's this whole, like, there's the game warden and you have to do all this stuff, and he was just using all of them to bide his time until he could leave.
Yeah, hoping not to go insane and failing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just took what he was doing as, like, at first he was content, so he set up all of these, like, things that they would do, like, every day.
Right.
Yeah.
With the cake, and he's a jolly good fellow and all that.
Well, it wasn't every day. Those were just on the anniversary. So every time we saw that was a year had passed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, those were his anniversary cakes, because there was a candle every time. Because there was 1, then 2, then 3. So that's how they marked the passage of his time on there. Is every time you saw those cakes, they had another candle added. So that's how many years he was there. I think he was there 5 years.
See, I just took that as it was happening every single day.
No.
Yeah, I took that as like a daily thing.
It was not.
Huh.
Yeah, we only when we saw him with the cakes, those are on his anniversaries of him having been there a year. And so, like, over the course of a year, he wrote the play. Over the course of a year.
Well, I wish that was more clear.
So I only picked up on it the second time that I watched it. But yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, okay. So because the first time they give him the cake, they're like, it's your anniversary, and an anniversary is a year. Is like, that's literally what that means.
Yeah, but I thought they were just like fucking weird drones that would
I
just
thought
say
they were stuck
things.
in a loop.
No,
and then you find out they're Adam and Eve.
Yeah. Dr. Manhattan's Adam and Eve, that was also, like, that whole thing was like Tales of the Black Freighter, like the story within a story.
Yeah, a little bit.
Reading something where...
And the fact that he fishes their human fetuses out of the water, and he, like, picks the one up and he's like, nah, and throws it back. I was like, well, this is severely fucked up in the weirdest way.
Well, I haven't seen something like this yet.
So
exactly.
the scene where he did that, where he took them and grew them in like a matter of 30 seconds. That scene, that was, I think, his 4th anniversary, and on his 4th anniversary, he lost it because
he just completely lost his fucking mind.
I like this. It's a quote from Lindelof that says, the idea of doing an escape story with Adrian Veidt that's more like Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner than it is Escape from Alcatraz felt too delicious not to do.
That's funny. Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, because like he makes the catapult.
Yeah.
And he's just fucking launching them, and you're like, where are they going? Because to that point, you don't know that they're on another planet.
Right.
And he fucking goes up there himself and arranges them into fucking letters because he knows that her satellite is coming to take a photo.
So he's just biding his time until she gets there.
Yep.
It's so fucking good.
And watching it a second time, like the horseshoe that he uses, the clones keep giving it to him prematurely, and that's why he keeps saying, no, it's too early for this, and you don't get it until the end. But those scenes were sublimely bizarre, but I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, when he finally the very first time he's handed the horseshoe, I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. And then as it progresses, and then he's finally in the cell, and he gets it, and he's like, yes, and he's celebrating, and he starts digging with it, and I was like, how did he? What the
See, we didn't watch that post-credit scene.
Yeah, I missed that, didn't? And I had to go back.
No.
So when we were watching the next, it was previously on Watchmen, we're sitting there when the fuck did that happen?
Oh, no. Yeah, no.
I did the same thing. I did the same thing.
Which was the post-credits scene?
When he gets...
the scene where he got the horseshoe and started digging.
Oh, okay. See,
because that was at the end of the credits of the previous.
It was the only one
episode.
It was the only one they did all season long.
No shit. Okay, I mean, some of the episodes I did just let the credits play because the song was good.
Yeah.
So I might have just not even known that or ran up, gone to the bathroom, and came back, and another part of it was on.
I always watch it all the way through because I want to see the coming up on the next episode. I want to see that.
Yeah,
the previews. Yeah.
Now, see, since I binged it, I was like, I'm not gonna worry about that.
Enough.
I'm just gonna skip to the next episode.
Well, maybe this is a lesson that you should watch live.
Even binging it, I did kind of watch those anyway, just to see where we were gonna go.
Yeah.
Not because they're not gonna put spoilers in it, but knowing where the episode's gonna turn out of what we just saw.
Right.
I kind of watched those, but the Ozymandias stuff was fucking
Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. That's fucking great.
Yeah.
It's fucking great.
And he did, and because Michelle had never read the comic, so I'm sitting there telling her all these things, Night Owl and Rorschach, they go to his thing, and he's like, oh, he's fast enough to catch bullets, and I love that the game warden shot at him, and he still fucking got it.
Yeah, that was great.
And he's just like, was I a worthy adversary? No.
But there's a nice pause where he's contemplating.
But then after he dies, but you put on a good show.
Yeah.
So what was everybody's favorite scene?
Oy.
Oh, Jesus, fuck.
If we had to tighten that scope.
So my favorite scene, and it's sort of a twofer, and I kind of alluded to this for Jordan already when we were speaking about it. But in American Hero Story, you have Hooded Justice breaking into the grocery store and fighting everyone in bright, beautiful colors.
Right.
And then in episode 6, where you get the truth about Hooded Justice, he fought his way through fought his way in and then out of a racist grocery store. And I just love how they played both of those scenes off of one another.
I agree,
because it was like a historical retelling of what they want people to believe happened when he breaks into the glass and fights everybody, but in actuality he fights everybody and then breaks the glass to get the fuck out of there.
And
I loved the reversal of that. So those two scenes for me, the first one's good, but it doesn't really mean anything until it means everything.
Here's a fun fact.
So I love that.
Here's a fun fact about the owner of that market. And I don't take credit for noticing this. I read it, but it is hilarious to me. So we learned that his name is Fred. That's the Cyclops guy that Will stops on the street for firebombing the Jewish deli.
Yes.
And we never get his last name, but we do see Fred or FT and Sons. Someone pointed out that in 1938, Fred Trump, the father of Donald Trump, owned a market in New York. So that's a fun little thing there. Yeah.
Wow.
Holy fucking shit.
So nice little jab there by the creators of the show.
That's
holy
hilarious. That's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
And then he gets shot in the head.
Man, it is really hard. It's really hard for me to say one scene. I'll say as kind of also an addendum to favorite episode, I think the first episode was just so fucking good. And I agree, Rob, that first scene, everyone knows that you're tuning in for a show called Watchmen, and we get this kick in the balls watching the 1921 Tulsa massacre happen. And this is the little bit of the history major in me. I can't help but look into this kind of stuff. I was Googling that shit immediately. And the funny thing is, I had just read an article maybe a week or two prior about how, like, in our actual reality, so this thing happened. This is a real thing that happened across both Watchmen and in our real world.
The attack on Black Wall Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greenwood, I think.
Yeah.
It's called. That they just recently uncovered unmarked graves in Tulsa from that. And that, so that the reported death count is probably way higher than just, like, I think right now the old white records say, like, oh yeah, like 50 black people were killed, and it's probably closer to like maybe a few hundred.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so the crazy thing about it is Watchmen brought this to the forefront with this, this work of pop culture that they've done, and I'm really glad for it, because looking into it, for decades, almost 100 years, no one in Tulsa talked about this. Like, it got literally buried as well as figuratively buried. Like, it was like the worst racial violence in America, and it just got completely just wiped away. It was crazy. So I'm really glad that Lindelof and did he write the first episode as well?
I think so.
Yeah, so I'm really glad that they brought that to the forefront, because it's just, it's a horrific thing, but people need to know about it, especially with just, looking at how things are nowadays with racism now on the rise and anti-Semitism on the rise and all that shit. I thought that was really powerful, really well done, and necessary.
Yeah.
And Will's mom had a gun.
Yeah.
And she was about to point it at a guy, and her husband grabbed the muzzle of it and pushed it down. It was like, just go.
Right.
Like, it's not, don't even bring the fucking attention on yourself.
Exactly.
Just get out of here. Because, like, if she fires one off, they're all going to turn around and see them.
Absolutely.
You take out one, but you sacrifice everybody, as opposed to, like, just go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fucking nuts.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be my favorite scene up until episode 6 happened. And the scene where Will was attacked by his
the fucking cops.
policeman, by his, and they string him up and they cut him down, and they were like, next time, we won't cut you down.
The POV of that.
Yeah.
Yup.
Yeah.
Just
fucking heart-wrenching. Yeah. I was like, I couldn't believe what I was watching, and then for him to put the hood back on and continue walking with the noose, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I really loved all the stuff with Ozymandias and his side story, but I guess the end, when it's all kind of coming together and Dr. Manhattan has been captured by the 7th Cavalry, who unwittingly were working for True, who they just played right into her hands.
If only they knew they were working for an Asian lady.
Yeah.
That's a kick in the balls.
Just when Dr. Manhattan's talking to Angela, and he's explaining, what is he like? Don't go in the light, or don't touch the light, things like that. And then he gets his powers sucked out for a moment, and it's just him as a human again. And he just goes, "I love you, Angela." And there's the explosion. I was like, don't cry. You got to keep it together. It's gonna be all right. Everything's fine. But I don't know, like, because you guys have also described some of my favorite scenes, and there's literally too many to pick from.
Yeah, fuck. I do love that last episode so much, but I will say, and this is not that I disagree with it or anything. Like, I just don't. I like Dr. Manhattan so much that I don't like that they, I guess, killed him.
It was hard to see him go.
We really don't know for sure. We won't know if unless they do a second season, and that we get some sort of confirmation, or maybe we'll just never know, because I mean, he's technically died like 3 times. So, I mean, who knows?
Or he's just been reborn in Angela.
Yeah. Well, he's even said that in the comic when Ozymandias led him into the... God, I can never remember what it's called.
Intrinsic field.
Yes. When he led him into that, and he's like, oh, well, I vaporized Dr. Manhattan again. That's when he comes back as the Giant is like, I'm disappointed in you, Adrian.
I put myself together once before. I can just keep doing it. So, I mean, I've seen no evidence from what happened in that last episode to say for certain, oh, yeah, he's definitely dead. I don't know. But, yeah.
Theoretically, he could put all of his powers into this egg.
Yeah.
Well, he said he could transfer his powers, not necessarily put all of his powers. So, like, it's possible that he gave his powers to Angela through the egg, and that he could still technically exist. But I don't know.
Or it was just a coincidence, and that's why I don't want a season 2.
Yeah.
Because the worst case scenario, right? Worst case scenario is they do Watchmen season 2, and episode 1 starts with Angela either walking on the pool because he told her earlier she had to see him do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why she went out there to test it. Worst case scenario is she either walks on the pool, and that's scene number 1, or she falls into the fucking pool. And then you're just like, well, there goes all the mystery. Like, I don't want that fucking answered. I love the idea that it's open-ended. I believe that she was able to walk on the pool, but I just think that that's with all of the things that they set up. Why wouldn't that have happened?
It's interesting to me that you see that as the worst case scenario, because
I just don't want the scene of her falling into the fucking water and then we go, oh boy, Dr. Manhattan didn't do what he said he was going to do. Like, I don't want that.
I'm kind of in the same boat as Rob as far as the mystery. Like, because as soon as I saw the music start to, like, well up in that scene, and she, like, started to take, like, her time going forward, I was like, they're cutting to black, aren't they? They're going to leave this open-ended. And that's exactly what they did. And I had a huge grin on my face.
Yep.
Because I was like, I loved it. I loved that they left it open-ended and open for interpretation. And you get what you put into that show and how much you invest in the theories and stuff. And that's what you get out of it.
So to me, it's really obvious that he did transfer his powers into the egg, and that like, so I don't think there is a mystery. I think it was a really cool way to finish the season and possibly the show on that note, but I don't think there is a mystery. I think he absolutely did transfer. He knew he was going to die. So he at least as far as we know, he knew he was going to die, so he wanted to transfer his powers to someone else. So that maybe like that he thought she was worthy or whatever. I don't know, but I think it's super obvious that she does. So it's not going to be, to me, like a letdown. It's going to be a payoff that they just show her standing there on the water. Because I don't see how they don't do that, because it would be the worst red herring of all time. Yeah. Doing all those, because they did the same thing again. They showed they had him say, with the watch out for the egg, and and
it's
the
important
egg
you see me
at
on
the
the
bar.
water.
Yeah, so they did all that, and it would have been for nothing. That seems like a really lame red herring.
But a character that we didn't really talk about was Lori.
Yeah,
Silk Spectre,
right? That's her name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Monsieur Spetchik.
She made me laugh hard. And there were definitely points where I was like, I don't like this person.
Same.
But I was laughing at the things she was saying because she was such a bitch.
Dude, she's so jaded.
Yeah.
She's so fucking jaded.
I loved that.
I really liked Lori in this show, but I fucking hated her. Like,
right. Like, at
like
first,
said,
I really didn't like
bitch,
her.
But, like, the way that she was talking to Dr. Manhattan on that voicemail was so cool.
Yeah.
Because they had such history together. And she's like, I don't even know if you're going to get this. I don't even know if you're alive. I don't know if you're listening. Like, just she was at her wit's end with everything.
I love that when they introduce her, it's in a scene that is almost shot exactly like the bank heist with the Joker in The Dark Knight. Like, it was shot like, and then the vigilante that they stopped was a knockoff of Batman. Like, I just, I loved that. That was fucking great.
We were so confused in that scene when everybody just turns and looks at the vigilante and they fucking like take him down, and Amanda was like, "What the fuck?" It was great. It was so good.
Any final thoughts on Watchmen?
Yeah, look, I'll say it's just one of the best seasons of television I've ever seen. Ridiculously engrossing and gripping. And if you haven't watched it, I'm sorry you just got spoiled on all that. But now go watch it.
Jordan had mentioned Westworld earlier, and I think I had said, I don't know if I said it to you guys or if it was just to Jordan himself, but I don't know that I've felt a way about a season of TV the way I do about Watchmen since season 1 of Westworld.
Fair. Yeah.
Like it really got me in that same vein.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fucking awesome. I didn't have anything to critique about it, and I don't know that I've ever sat here and been like, I didn't like that ever. So I always find something to hate.
Right.
But I didn't have anything for this. I just enjoyed the entirety of the show. So definitely one of my favorite series that I've ever viewed, ever, and that's in one season. So 9 episodes, not even a full quote unquote full season. So
yeah, I love Damon Lindelof. I love what he does with his television shows and just his concepts alone. I thought that this was such a good follow-up, drastically different, but very much in the same vein as the original source material.
Yeah.
Like, it was a way more personal story, and I loved that. I hope season 2, if it does come to fruition, hope it doesn't tarnish what we got in season 1 by retreading anything.
Fantastic acting, music was great. I was just reading a whole thing where it was like the way the music played into the story too. Like in A God Walks into A-Bar, it used a number of themes around the color blue, such as Rhapsody in Blue, The Blue, Danaboo. Huh. The final episode, See How They Fly, incorporates many of the unusual phrases from the Beatles' I Am the Walrus into its visual elements.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's definitely like you're going to have to go through a second watch and catch all the stuff missed for the first time.
This is a show that I'm gladly going to watch multiple times, even if it is just this single season. I can't wait to go a third time through this, so. Yeah.
So, for Pop Kannon, this has been episode 31, where we covered Watchmen. Thank you for listening. My name is Jordan.
I am Robert.
I'm Andrew.
And I am Brian.
Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock.